I wanted to take a moment just to address this idea that we really shouldn't care about surveillance unless we're doing something illegal. I'm getting this a lot lately. And in the first place, people don't really mean it. Sometimes they'll say, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. They don't really mean it. I've challenged people on multiple occasions to send me their entire browsing data so that I could publish it on my website, unedited, of course. And nobody's taken me up on this offer. That's because at some level, we all value our privacy. In fact, privacy is a fundamental part of self-ownership. We draw boundaries around ourselves that nobody else is allowed to cross without our permission. This is privacy. It's fundamental. It's part of being a human being, and we all value it at some level. That's why we have curtains on our windows and locks on our doors. Now, if you take this idea that we shouldn't care about surveillance unless we're doing something illegal to its logical conclusion, then we should let police officers just come into our homes whenever they want to and snoop around. Because after all, if we're not doing anything illegal, why should we care? Obviously, this is absurd. Nobody believes this. But here's a more fundamental issue. Government surveillance isn't just targeting bad guys. You see, your conception of a bad guy is a lot different than the government's conception of a bad guy. You think of a bad guy as a rapist or a murderer or maybe a car thief, somebody that's doing something that is criminal. That's what you think of as bad guy. The government has a much more expansive definition of bad guy than that. To a government agent, a bad guy is somebody who threatens his power. Anybody who threatens government power can be labeled a bad guy and could be subject to surveillance. That's why the government has surveilled anti-war protesters, Martin Luther King, Tea Party activists, gun rights activists, Black Lives Matter members. All types of political dissidents have been targeted by surveillance. This is why it's key to have oversight and transparency over surveillance programs. We shouldn't just willy-nilly trust government to use this surveillance technology in the right way. This is not anti-police. This is being smart. It is using your common sense. It's understanding history. It's knowing the truth that where there's power, there's the potential for corruption. Where there is power, there is the potential for abuse. And even if it's just a small percentage, that 1% to 2% who might abuse their power, it's still dangerous when it's in the hands of a government official. That's why we're pushing so hard for oversight and transparency. Nobody's saying that the government shouldn't ever use surveillance technology, that the police shouldn't have these tools to catch legitimate bad guys. What we're saying is that there should be policies in place to ensure that data is protected, that it's not shared, that innocent people's data is erased, that there are warrant requirements, that they're not just using it whenever they want. Just like you wouldn't want a police officer to walk into your house whenever he wanted to search around, you don't want them searching in your phone, your email, or tracking your location. That's what this is about. Surveillance is potentially abused. We should make sure that it isn't.